Hi students, once again I am meeting you to discuss about the lesson organisms and populations. Now today we have to talk about adaptations. What is an adaptation in terms of biology? Adaptation is a dynamic evolutionary process that fits an organism to their environment and enhancing their evolutionary fitness to fit in that environment. Adaptation can be a phenotypic or adaptive trait with a functional role in each individual organism that is maintained and has been that is evolved by means of natural selection. We have different types of adaptive traits. It may be a structural adaptations, or it may be behavioral adaptations, or it may be physiological adaptations. We'll see one by one. Now the adaptation number one, structural adaptations. So the external and internal structure of organisms help them to adapt better to their environment. We have a number of examples. Example number one, mammals living in what is called freezing climates. They grow thick fur in order to just escape from the chill climate. So mammals growing thicker fur to survive freezing climates. Now some of the most attractive adaptations in nature occur for crayfish. So crayfish, what's the meaning for crayfish? For reasons of crayfish, crayfish, nothing but example you see camouflage. Another one, mimicry. These are all the most attractive adaptations in nature for actually crayfish, and for reasons that for certain reasons, for reasons of crayfish and also what we call mimicry. One example, say an example of chameleon, a reptilian form. Another example is stick insect, yes, insect. The chameleon can change its color according to the color of the survey, either green or brown or grey, etc. Similarly, the stick insect is nothing but an insect. So chameleon is a reptile, stick insect is an insect that matches the background. In just appearance, in structure, it's looking like what is called a stick of stick of what is called that is a plant. It is matching with the stick so that it cannot be predated by what we call the predators, which cannot be what we have just captured by the predators. Now, what is cryptic coloration or cryptic animals? So, camouflage is an example for crayfish. Cryptic animals are those animals which normally perfectly camouflage, matching with the background. Camouflage, matching with the background. Okay, camouflage with their environment, matching with the background, and are impossible to detect. I given two examples, chameleon, the reptiles, another one stick insects. Show this type of adaptations. What for? So for prey capture, number one, just prey capture. This is adaptation for number one, prey capture. Number two, evade from predators, to escape from the predators. This is number two, evade from predators. So the adaptation seen in the case of insects, the stick insects and chameleon, to capture what is called prey and also escape from predators. Another example of structural adaptation you could see in the case of horse. The horse legs are very strong. They're adapted for fast running and also adapted to grasslands and other related environments. So these are some of the examples in support of what's called structural adaptations. Okay, animals with external, internal structures better adapted to the environmental conditions. Let's see the next one. Okay, what are behavioral adaptations? Now, activity and behavior of animals are instinctive or learned behavior. It is acquired, not by birth. It is instinctive, just all of a sudden acquiring the knowledge to just respond. Also, it is learned. So, animals develop certain behavioral adaptations are trained for their survival. For example, fleeing from predators, moving away from the predators, the flies or any animals. For example, the deer is moving away from the predators. That's called fleeing away from predators. That's for survival, behavioral adaptation. On seeing at sight, they are moving away. Then hiding during sleep. In order to escape from the predators, while sleeping, they are hiding underground or under the what we have hollow, just actually the burrows or any other grasses. Then move to find different food sources. they have to move what is called actually the food source. They have to find the food source. They know that one where are the food. Accordingly, they are moving towards the direction. Seeking refuge from climate changes. When there is a change in climate, extreme hot or extreme cold, they are getting refuge under the trees or under the ground or under the burrows or even moving away from that place. Migration, that's called refuge, to find a better place for their living. Now, the two most characteristic form of behavioral adaptations are number one, migration, number two, courtship. So, if there is any extreme cold conditions, you know the animals are moving away. That's called the migration. Some animals are moving away. That is called emigration. Some animals are moving into the population. That is called immigration. Now, migration allows animals what for? To find better resources or to evade threat by the predators, to escape from the animals. That is called actually the migration. What is the importance of migration? So it allows animals to find better resources, what is called the food resources, better food resources, or evade threat. Threat means by means of predators, escaping from the threat. Now, courtship behavior. This is a sexual behavior of an animal to attract either the male. The females are having some kind of movement. For example, the case of a peacock. It attracts the female by means of just expanding its wings, tail wings. Like that, they're producing a peculiar sound. Even in the case of frog, you know that one there's a croaking sound to attract what is called actually the female. The male frogs produce a sound with the help of vocal sacs. That is called courtship behavior. So courtship is a kind of behavioral pattern. What for? To find a mate and to reproduce. It's a kind of artificial selection. Animals have developed the courtship behavior to attract what is called the females. Mostly courtship behavior is shown by what is called the male. In the case of birds, you know that when the males are actually beautiful when compared to the female. So it is for attraction. This is called courtship behavior. Okay, so most nocturnal animals, you know that one, remain inactive during daytime or they remain underground. Okay, this is a modification for their food. This is a modification for food. An activity pattern or behavior. Okay, activity pattern or habit or behavior. This is because of their nocturnal activities. They find their food only during night time. And this is a modification for what is called the feeding process. An activity pattern or habit or behavior. Okay, so in the case of such animals, see we have, that is what we have, the nocturnal animals. I mentioned already, they have their modification for feeding, an activity pattern or habit or behavior. Now what is pathology? That is a study of disease. Pathology means study of disease. Likewise, what is ethology? Pathology, the study of disease. What is ethology? The study of science dealing with the behavior of animals under natural conditions. The study of behavior of animals, okay, is a science dealing with the study of behavior of animals under natural conditions. How far they are behaving without any stimulation. How far they are behaving under natural conditions. That study is called ethology. I mentioned pathology. That's a study of disease. Now we have to go for the next one. What's called the physiological adaptations. Okay. I mentioned about the nature of nocturnal animals. They remain inactive during daytime or remain underground. What for? This is a modification for feeding, an activity pattern or habit or behavior, the nocturnal behavior. Now what is ethology? I mentioned about the scientific study of animal behavior under natural conditions, not being stimulated. The scientific study of what is called animal behavior. That study is called ethology. Now the third one, physiological adaptations. These are nothing but the adaptations of organisms that help them to live and survive in their environment with unique niches. I mentioned niches are nothing but what we call the functional status, the lifestyle of an organism. So physiological adaptations are adaptations of organisms that help them to survive or live in their own environment with unique niches, the functional status and lifestyle of an organism. We have many examples. Say an example of lion. The lions have sharp teeth to tear, sharp canines we can see. Carnivorous animals have canines to tear the meat, and also they have a digestive system. A specific digestive system in carnivorous animals to digest a raw meat because they are just actually poaching the animals, hunting the animals, cutting the prey, and eating them as raw. So for digesting the blood, the raw muscles, they have a specific digestive system. Now we have the two most physiological modifications are number one, we can see hibernation and estivation. We already studied what is hibernation and estivation. That's under the previous chapter. What we have hibernation, the winter sleep, estivation is summer sleep. So whether we have to just complete the physiological adaptations, we have to go for the adaptations of what is called aquatic medium or aquatic animals. And also we have aquatic animals as well as the terrestrial animals. Now, the most well-known physiological adaptations are number one, hibernation, that is winter sleep, and number two, estivation, summer sleep. As we already seen under the adaptations in the previous categories, just about the animal nature adjustment with what is called abiotic factors. Hibernation, as seen in the case of winter sleep, you see that one, we have the polar bear, and we have estivation, we have summer sleep, as seen in the case of some fishes and snakes. Now these are two different types of inactivity. Diapause stage, like the past stage, inactivity, where the metabolic rate is normally slowing down so much that the animals can survive without drinking or eating. So the metabolic rate is slows down. What will happen? The animal can just survive without drinking or eating. And that is because of what is called hibernation, estivation, suspended activity, a kind of physiological adaptations. Now we have two medium mainly, the aquatic medium and the terrestrial habitats. So the aquatic medium, the terrestrial habitats have their own respective environmental conditions. So accordingly, the animals have evolved certain adaptations, appropriate adaptations to select suitable habitats and niches. So because of the unique nature of what is called the environmental habitats of both aquatic medium and terrestrial medium, animals have to develop certain adaptations to select suitable habitats and niches. That's about what we have a general process of adaptations, modifications with reference to structure, behavior, and physiology. Now we have to see the adaptations of aquatic animals, adaptations of what we have terrestrial animals. As for the aquatic animals concerned, we are taking mainly the fishes because they are the dominant animals in the aquatic medium. Let's see aquatic adaptations and finally the terrestrial adaptations. Same in the case of different animals, but in the case of aquatic animals, mostly related to the fishes. Now let's see what are the adaptations of aquatic animals. Number one, presence of fins. As you know, in the case of fishes, we have pectoral fins and pelvic fins. These are all the pad fins concerned with balancing the body, hence called the balancers or stabilizers of the body. Stabilizers of the body. The caudal fin is used for changing the direction. In such a way, it is acting as a rudder, as in the case of aeroplane. Now the rudder is used for changing the direction. Here too, the caudal fin, the tail fin is used for changing the direction. The next one, arrangement of body muscles. The body muscles are normally found in the form of muscle bundles, and such muscle bundles are called myotopes. Such muscle bundles are called myotopes. And these myotopes are used for the movement of the body in different directions. So with the help of myotopes, the animals, particularly the fishes, move. That is from one place to another. Then the streamlined body. And the streamlined body, there is actually the spindle shape, that is anterior and posterior ends are narrower and the middle part is broad. This is called streamlined body. So that the animal exhibits swift movement, fast movement, piercing through water. That's about the streamlined body. The next one, presence of gills. Gills are the main respiratory organs. They are being made use by the animal for exchange of gases, the gases which are dissolved in water. So making use of gases dissolved in water, that is the role of gills. Then presence of air bladder in the case of bony fishes, not in the case of cartilaginous fishes. You have air bladder found only in the bony fishes. And the air bladder is filled with air, which is acting as a floating organ. That's called buoyancy. The floating effect is called buoyancy. So they are concerned with the buoyancy, floating effect. Then presence of lateral line system. We can have in the case of fishes, you could see just there is a groove extending from the head to the tail. This is called the lateral line system. It is a groove containing a number of receptors. These receptors are called the rheoreceptors. These receptors are called nucleoreceptors. They are concerned with actually detecting the vibrations of the water body, water current. So they are responsible for echolocating objects in water. When the animal is moving, there is any object, they are just actually find out by means of echolocation. Is there any object on the way, any hindrance, any obstruction on the way? So that's about the receptors. We also have the integuments in the case of aquatic animals provided with what is called mucus secreting glands. And these integuments are protected by the scales. And also the animals have the ability to maintain water and ionic balance with the help of what we call the excretory structures. In the case of aquatic animals, normally we have aglanular kidney without glandules. Some adaptations also we have seen already the osmotic balance, etc. I don't repeat the same one. Okay, so the eighth one we have water and ionic balance with reference to certain excretory structures. These are all the 8 adaptations as per the book we have to go through. Next one we have to pass on to adaptations of animals in terrestrial habitat. Now other adaptations of aquatic animals, rich in mucous glands. Actually we have the integuments which are rich in mucous glands. They are protected by what we call the skin. Another one, maintain water and ionic balance in the body. With the help of excretory structures, the ionic balance and water balance being maintained in aquatic animals. Now let's pass on to the adaptations of terrestrial animals. That is what we call the terrestrial adaptations. First one, let us take earthworm and land planarians. Their body surface is always kept moist. This is because of the secretions of mucus. So there is a mucus coating secreted by the animal to maintain moist situations because respiration is possible only through the body surface by moist condition. That's why in the case of earthworm, the skin is always kept moist. And it is being actually used for different purposes, the moist skin. Burrowing, for coiling the body, respiration, etc. In earthworm, it helps in respiration. Now, the arthropods have external covering over what we call the respiratory surface and well-developed tracheal system. That is one of the adaptations to prevent the water loss through what is called the respiratory structures. And the third one, some animals obtain their water, that is actually a requirement from the food. As a partial loss, you see that one water being lost. 50% of the water lost is being gained through the food. There's a meaning for that one. Some animals obtain their water requirement from food as a partial replacement of water lost with excretory structures or through excretion. So water being lost through the nephrons, that is being maintained, just 50% of the water loss is replaced by what is called the water that is gained from the food. That's about the 3 adaptations. We have to go for the adaptations of what is called the vertebrate skin, which prevents water loss, and also the adaptations of camel for effective cooling through the skin and also respiratory system. We have seen already, and about the animal can withstand what we have dehydration up to 50% of the what is called the total body weight. Sorry, 25% of the total body, not 50%, 25% of the total body weight. That is, it can withstand the dehydration process up to 25% of the body weight. So these are all the remaining things, 2 more points to be covered. Okay. Now other terrestrial adaptations. Vertebrate skin. So the skin has many layers of cells in addition to the well-protected respiratory system, and both are responsible for preventing the loss of water. Many layers of skin and also the protected respiratory system prevent the water loss. The last one, camels. The camels are desert animals. They can withstand the various what we call the conditions prevalent in the desert. So they're able to regulate water effectively. There is water effectively and efficiently. What for? For evaporative cooling through that is the skin and the respiratory system. Number 2, to prevent the water loss, they excrete highly concentrated urine, what is called hypertonic urine. Number 3, they can also withstand dehydration. I mentioned already about this one in the previous lesson, actually the part of the lesson. They can withstand dehydration up to 25% of their body weight. These are some of the adaptations of camels, which are the desert animals to withstand the desert conditions, the xeric conditions. They have developed what we call the adaptations. That's all about the adaptations of the different animals, structural, behavioral, physiological, as well as terrestrial and aquatic adaptations. With that, I concluded aquatic as well as terrestrial adaptations. We have to go for the next lesson. What we have the populations, we'll see in the next class. Thank you.